You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. Now let's hear Kweku on the ghost names matters and the lazy attitudes to work.
Well, I would focus on the ghost names. I think Doc did quite a brilliant job on the second leg, I think. See, 30 years. The last time I checked, I'm sure it goes beyond 30 years, but based on my little research, I noticed this. See, this is Daily Graphic, Friday, July 24th, 1987. Headline, 10,000 ghost workers detected on payrolls. The story was filed by C.S. Boabi from Sunyani. I read, a total of 10,000 ghost workers had been eliminated from the civil service payroll following the introduction of payment of salaries through the banks. Mr. D.S. Boating was a good friend of mine and the Secretary for Mobilization and Productivity, who disclosed this at Sunyani during a meeting with cooperative societies on Wednesday, said the head count before the exercise began, a total of 377,000 workforce was recorded. However, since the introduction of payment of salaries through the banks, where employees are expected to submit their photographs and either thumbprint or sign for their salaries, the number dropped to 307,000. This is 30 good years ago. Now, if you come to GNA report, 11th May 2002, headline, over 3,200 ghosts received salary, Auditor General. And that gives us a story to the effect that a total of 2,069 names have so far been deleted from the government payroll. Mr. Edward Duajimai, Acting Auditor General, said on Friday, ministries, departments, and agencies have deleted 1,355 names as part of measures to rid government payrolls of ghost names. I can go on and on and on. It got to Parliament. PC appeal for it. If you go to the Hansard, 17 January 2002, filed a statement on the floor of the House. It's titled, Ghost Names on Government Payrolls. In that Hansard, you see Mr. Edward Salia, the late, talking about at the beginning of the revolution, which means the Rawlings Revolution, meaning that this 87 one was not even the beginning. He said the PNDC launched what it called Operation Hawk. It's here. To deal with this matter. And his view was that it only had temporary successes. Subsequently, we all went back to the old ways. I have many publications here. See, this is graphic. This is January 21st, 2015, and you are dealing with some of these issues. 75,000 ghost names removed from National Service Scheme payroll, saving 26.5 million Ghana cedis. Of course, the figures, there may be problems with the figures, both with the number of ghosts as well as the money supposed to be saved. Right. Today we are making similar complaints, but it is a recurrent thing. There are many more here, some to do with National Youth Employment Program, all of it, the same. So what's wrong with us? Why are we unable, terminally unable, to curb that mischief? We've introduced new systems. It began here, we were told of banks. It apparently helped for a while, but nothing went the right way. If you go into the budgets of 20, and I have the Hansards here, 2015 budget, 2016 budget, and 2017 budget. And that's where my brother was wrong, that there was no acknowledgement. It's a consistency, it flows. if you go into the 2015 budget, Setekwe talked about payroll management. That's paragraph 950. He talked about the, let me read just a little portion. Mr. Speaker, to ensure efficiency in salary administration, work is ongoing to ensure that the integrated personal payroll database interfaces seamlessly into the Ghana Integrated Financial Management and Information Service system, GIFMIS. Then it made a point about in 2013, an electronic salary payment voucher system and electronic pay systems were introduced. These are more irrelevant. It says interfacing payroll database with SNIT biometric data.
Okay.
The process of interfacing the payroll database with the SNIT biometric database to facilitate regular validation and update of the payroll database was started and will be completed in 2016. Nationwide pension payroll headcount. To ensure credible payroll database, government will undertake a nationwide pension headcount to validate the pension database in 2016. 2017 budget, if you go in there, there was an acknowledgement by the Minister of Finance. And let me read that portion. It says, improving payroll management. I'll skip the first line. Paragraph 846, it says the SNIT database will be used as a filter for the payment of public sector workers. Starting in April, all workers who have not been biometrically registered with SNIT will be taken off government payroll. This was flowing from what had begun from 2015, 2016 to 2017. Indeed, if you go into the official statement that was issued by the ministry, there is a point, they made an announcement to the fact that 26,589 public sector workers have been removed from the payroll. They also referred to the pension. There were two things, the payroll as well as the pension system. And if you read this one, it says in a related statement, the minister has also directed the Comptroller and Accountant General to suspend the payment of pensions to some 23,029 people because they could not be accounted for in a nationwide headcount which ended on 22nd October 2016. They are dealing with a system, a process, which continued before the advent of, which began before the advent of this administration. Government does not have to every minute say that this process was begun by my predecessor, so I'm continuing. So I think my brother was playing a little bit of politics there. You should acknowledge that. There's no doubt that this particular exercise, the latest one, has suffered some challenges. And if you listen to the Ghana Medical Association, you listen to NAGRAT, you don't need anybody to convince you that something has gone wrong with implementation. And it is obvious that the Comptroller and Accountant General's Department, as well as SNIT and area, there have been problems. But the ministry has acknowledged that. There's a statement here that acknowledges the error and says that all those who are legitimate government workers but have not been able to go through the SNIT biometric registration are required to do so before their salaries will be released to them. Those who go through the registration before 3rd May 2017 will be paid by 15th May 2017. Those who have gone through the SNIT biometric registration but have been mistakenly blocked can be assured that by the same 15 May, their salaries will be released to them upon resolution of the errors. Yeah, we shouldn't throw the baby away with the bathwater. We've brought in technology to assist, to facilitate in this ghost fight, fighting against ghosts. Obviously, human beings are managing the system. They've ended up creating some problems. I appreciate. When it comes to salaries, it's no joke. It can disrupt the disruption. Just even one day disruption can disrupt a whole house. So I can understand. I appreciate the sentiments, the feelings that are emanating from these organizations. But those errors or those lapses are not enough basis for us to give up the fight on this, just like the Galamsey one. So I think that, yes, let's improve the system. Let's get the technology working better. Let's train the people who are managing the technology also to handle it in a better way, in a more efficient way. But the fight against ghost names should continue the same way we are going to continue the fight against galamsey.
Okay, thank you very much, Kwekuba Kode. And YK Ansayabua says that people don't wake up and change their mindset to change their attitude. Everywhere in the working world, humans are invariably forced to do the right things. So the buck stops at the leadership in any organization, in both the private and public sectors. Let's stop apportioning blame to colonial times and the likes, and lead by example as leaders in public sector, just as the private sector is doing, and force the country to move with the same attitude. Leadership, leadership, leadership. YK says is the way to go about it. So you agree? It's all about leadership.
It's
just
all,
in some 30 seconds.
It's all about leadership.
Right.
It's all about leadership, and the leadership must start from the top.
So we can say it is a failure of leadership that has led us to where we are.
Yes, to some extent, it's a failure of leadership.
Okay. Kokubaku says we are unable to solve the problem terminally, and he's surprised at that. Failure of leadership. You also agree?
Well, let more leadership be demonstrated in dealing with some of these things and tackling the problem, you know, head on without blaming anybody. I think this particular administration has an excellent opportunity to fix so many challenges facing us. And if they do it, I mean, like I said earlier, they will win respect of many Ghanaians.
And if they stop visiting Togo.
Before I put the same question, to Nana Kumia, and ask whether if we find later that at the STC the work attitude has not changed, then we should blame him, hold him responsible. There's good news happening in some governments, you know, or MMDAs. Some very good things are happening in some of them. It is not all of them that have these attitudes and culture that is ingrained in the work ethic over there. For example, Fifia Daou of the Judicial Service says that something I can assure you, when you come to the new court complex, and you know the new court complex, staff log in and out when you come to work or leave the office. Also, there are CCTV cameras all over the departments, which is monitored by the court manager. Staff file their returns every month. Failure to comply, you are queried. Even currently, judges file their returns on judgments and rulings every month. And I can bear testimony to that. There was a judge who got very angry when lawyers were seeking to sort of stultify a process that's going on in his court. And he said, look, you are not being fair to me. If you don't do the right things and fast enough, I'll find a way of getting you out of the way, because I need to meet my deadlines. So when we check in the next how many months that work attitudes have not that much changed at STC, we should hold you personally responsible.
Yes, Samson. And you see, Samson, you know, the whole thing, like we said, falls on leadership. And if the system doesn't work, it's just because of leadership failure. There's no other explanation. Look, the president talked about roads being washed away after the first rain and buildings that do not last. You see, there are public officials who have to see to the delivery of this infrastructure to a certain standard. So if a road washes away after one rain, there is an engineer who supervised that project. That engineer would easily be found because the name would be in the records. And that engineer should be subject to a public inquiry as to what level of supervision he or she gave, and sanctions applied. The next engineer who is supervising a road will not then be in cahoots with a contractor to cut corners. The same thing for a building. If the AMA mayor finds some unauthorized structure at Osu, the building inspector at the sub-metro at Osu should be held before AMA for a public inquiry. Why is that structure there? When he is punished, his colleague at Adabraka would sit up. You mentioned the courts.
He may tell you he doesn't have the tools to work.
He doesn't have a motorcycle to go around the district to check for unauthorized structures. If he can show records that he drew this unauthorized structure to the attention of the relevant AMA body, then he's done his part. Then it moves. But there's somebody always in charge of the delivery of a certain service or the law at a certain point. There's always somebody in charge who's been paid. And if we are going to secure delivery and compliance, we have to start in these practical ways. You talked about the courts, and I'm very particular. The courts, I believe, despite all the good intentions of all the administrators of our court system, the courts is one of the areas where the public feels really shortchanged.
Things have changed these days.
Simple cases go on for 5 years.
Yes, but things have changed these days.
I don't know how much they have
to
changed.
that,
The last time I was reading about this police officer who had some cocaine case 6 years ago.
Right.
And it was only last month that she was free. 6
Several.
years, that she could have even passed on.
You're right about that.
So I believe the court system is also one major area where service delivery.
And like this one said, because they are now being given timelines and they need to file things, I've done a case in Justice L.L. Mensah's court, a full case, 3 months, less than 3 months, it was done.
There are such good instances, but there are so many instances where the delivery is
leadership.
Right.
It's about performance. I agree entirely with you. Now I've said about the Galamsey. I mean, there are having 200 villages or so.
Over 400, yeah.
And all these villages are within jurisdictional areas of assemblies.
Right.
Give the assemblymen key performance indicators.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
Right. You perform, or if you don't perform, you are kicked out.
And then you can go to Togo.
Right.
You can go to Togo and then have it.
Let me see if I can share. I can share a couple of messages with you, but before that, I invite you to go see a humor-packed play by Lateef Abubakar. It's Judas and Delilah. Can you imagine the two of them meeting? Judas and Delilah. Of course, Smith Asante and co are in this particular play, and it's happening today and tomorrow at the National Theatre. Yes, at 4 p.m. and at 8 p.m. each night. 4 and 8 p.m. each night. If you want a ticket, you can call 027 50 2700 027 50 2700, and the tickets are also available Unibank, Kuala, Accra Mall, Joy FM, Hacho, Bachona Total, and all of them. Go grab one and be part of it. I've got some tickets here. I've got 2 for myself for free, complimentary, and my guests, all of them have been fortunate. They've got 3 each, and they say that they're going to watch with their friends and family. Gabra in New Jersey says that I really don't get the drifts of the contribution Honorable Hussaini is making. How can he compare the ghost names in the public sector payroll, which the current government is fighting, to 110 ministers the president appointed? Likewise, as he also tried to play some mischief about the president's Galamsey fight and his visit to Togo. I really don't get his submission. He's just being mischievous. Michael Amening in the UK says that the Galamsey operatives should bear in mind that the fight against their irresponsible activities that is having a negative impact on the environment, especially our water bodies, is not going to be a 9-day wonder, because President Akufo-Addo and his government are highly determined to root out completely their activities, no matter the political cost. So it will be in their own interest to cooperate with the government and halt their illegal activities, as the media is also determined in partnering with the government to fight against the activities of Galamsey. Anyone caught? That's too long a message. Thank you. I like to end it here and say thank you to Abdul Malik Kwekubako, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, Professor Ransport Jampo of the Department of Political Science, University of Ghana, the Honorable Yunus Hussaini, MP Tamale Central and Ranking Member, Legal, Constitutional and Parliamentary Affairs of Parliament, Nana Kumia, former Communications Director and Managing Director of the State Transport Company, STC. I'm Samson Ladi Ayanini. Have a good afternoon. My outfit, as always, is by Latida.